Hi, this is Nick with another quick Photoshop tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create Photoshop actions. What are Photoshop actions? They are essentially a user-created shortcut. And since they are user-created, they can be as simple or as complex as you like them to be. So, an example of a very simple one would be something I use a lot when I'm retouching photos. I like to be able to flatten all layers very fast, so I'll create an action and then I usually map it to a function key, and that makes it a lot faster for me. So let's go ahead and open our our actions palette. If you do not see it, go to Window, Actions. There are two different views for the actions palette. There is a button mode that looks like this, and then there is the list mode that looks like this. We want to be in this mode. So I've already created a folder called Tutorials, and in that folder I'm going to add a new action by clicking this icon, and we'll name this Flatten. And then right here you'll see you can map it to any of these function keys. I'm going to go ahead and map it to F1, and I will click record. So now anything I do will be recorded by this action. So I've already have a photo and then I've added some blank layers on top of it. So all I have to do is go up here to Layer, Flatten Image. It's flattened over here in the Layers palette, so I click Stop in the Layers palette, or in the Action palette, and that's it. So now I can add some more layers. I can highlight my Flatten action that I just created, click Play, and it will immediately flatten it. I can also hit F1 and it will flatten it. And the third way would be is if you were in button mode, you could actually just click the button and it will immediately play it. So that's an example of an extremely simple action. Let's see something that is a little bit more complicated, but still fairly simple. I'm going to create a new layer again, and I'm going to call this one Photo Filter. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to bring up the curves, and let's say I have a specific effect I like to do to a lot of photos, kind of a cross-processing effect, but I don't want to change the curves on every photo that I drop in here. I can create an action, and I can make the curve changes once, record that action, and then replay it every time I drop in a new photo. This would save a lot of time if you're a photographer or just an amateur photographer. And so this doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just kind of playing around with the different colors. It just needs to be different enough to notice. So there we go. Some different curves there. So now I'm going to reopen the Actions palette, click Stop. So now my photo filter, I can delete this curves layer. If I highlight Photo Filter action, I can click Play, and it will automatically add the curves layer back to it. As you can see there, what we just worked on. Let's take it one step further. We can add to this action by clicking on the last step in the action and clicking Record again. Let's go ahead and add brightness and contrast. So now I can bump the contrast way up if I wanted. I'm just going to go to the extremes here. Another thing I could do is duplicate this. I'll go up here and I'll leave filter, other high pass filter, and I'm going to do something down here lower. And I'm going to desaturate it, Command or Control Shift U, and I'm going to go on Vivid Light. The shortcut for that is Option Shift V. Then I'll drop it down to 50 or 60%. So essentially that's just a way of sharpening it. You can do whatever you want. So after you've done a couple of more changes, we'll hit Stop. And then we will delete any layers except for the original background layer. Click Photo Filter, play. I'm just going to even play the mistakes where I created a new layer and then deleted it. So you see it truly records everything. So if there is a mistake in there that you don't want to keep, I can go right here, see Make Layer. I can delete just that step. So now, go back, delete these, play the photo filter again. Now it's going to run it, but it's not going to add that layer. So that's a good way to fix all that. So by doing this, it's also good if you keep it in layers in your actions so that you can tweak them later on, because not all photos are exactly the same. Maybe you run this action on one photo and you think this this detail is just not enough, and so you want to pump it up so you can up the opacity, or you want to up the contrast even more. You have the layers separate, so you can always make tweaks to them. Another thing you can do with actions is within the action itself, there's another box right next to this check mark. That is the dialog boxes. So if you find something, so this is the adjustment layer we made. So we'll click that next to the dialog box. I'll click play again so you can see what happens. So now when it gets to this new brightness and contrast, it's going to ask me what I want to name it. So it'll stop and it'll pause in the middle of the action. I can name it BNC, whatever. Now I can also manually change it myself. Click OK, and it will proceed with the action normally. So that's a good way to have a little bit more control over your actions. There are really endless possibilities when you're doing these actions. You just kind of have to play around and see what works for you and what helps save you time. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.